Hello, and welcome to the North Coast Journal Preview, where we take a look at the stories being followed in the upcoming edition of the North Coast Journal. I'm your host, Dave Frank, and I'm joined by news editor Thad Grades and arts and features editor Jennifer Fumiko Cahill. Welcome, guys.
Hi, David. How you doing?
Pretty good. Unfortunately, it's a little somber these days. We're getting some bad news about COVID again, and I think we should just dive right into what you're covering this week, Thad, on the cover.
Well, on the cover is not the bad news. The good news is on the cover actually this week.
Oh,
so it comes with a caveat. I think we should probably announce straight out that this week's edition is our best of Humboldt edition, where we profile our reader choices of their favorite things in Humboldt, and it usually comes with a big party where we celebrate all of Humboldt's best and all the awardees and get everybody together for a good time. That was scheduled to happen Friday, August 6th. And we have decided to cancel it in light of surging COVID cases.
Well, technically postpone.
We hope that once again we will be able to have nice things in the coming months. Case counts will kind of lower back down, and it'll be safe for us to get together.
Gotcha.
I mean, yeah, like there was going to be food trucks and fire dancing in the blocked off street. So if nothing else will motivate you to get vaccinated and mask up, maybe a party. Come on. But we can get back to the contents of our best of. Probably Thad wants to get to the more urgent matters at hand.
Yeah, we do have, in addition to what we have in this week's edition, we do have some kind of breaking COVID news. I am joining you guys right after a press conference with Humboldt County Public Health Officer Ian Hoffman, who announced that a new mask mandate is coming to Humboldt. That one that we had back instituted in April of 2020 is coming back in full force. So starting at midnight Friday night, masks will be mandatory in all public places in Humboldt County, all indoor public spaces, and then anywhere outdoors where you can't maintain 6 feet of social distancing.
Gotcha. So that's the most current news, hot off the press, just happened in the last hour. You want to unpack it a little bit, tell us a little bit about how Dr. Hoffman presented that information today and, what supports it?
Yeah, so I think as everybody who's been watching or paying attention knows, our case numbers are absolutely surging in Humboldt. Last week was one of our highest caseloads since the immediately after kind of the post-holiday surge in January. Our test positivity rates are higher than they've ever been. And everything is trending in the wrong direction. We announced had a record number, single day record of 69 cases confirmed last Friday. Today, we're confirming 82 new cases. And we are seeing that exponential spread that we talked so much about last fall and feared so much. And it's resulting in a surge in hospitalizations to Dr. Roberta Lust-Koch, who is the CEO of St. Joseph Health. Was a part of the press conference today and said that they are seeing more hospitalizations than they've seen at any point in the pandemic, really starting to strain capacity. I think she said that currently they have 19 hospitalized, including 4 in ICU, but it's been up to 22 or 23 and up to 6 or 7 in intensive care. And we know hospitalizations trend, a couple weeks after infections. And so every indication is that those numbers will increase over the next week or two.
So up until very recently, I think the conventional wisdom was that because so many people are vaccinated, half or so approximately of the population, that we'd see less, symptomatic cases and less illness, hospitalization, less of all ICU. But there's still a fear and concern that this is getting worse as we proceed. Was there anything that was mentioned at all about, to try to help explain or break it down for people? Like, I know, for example, you have an article that we could pivot to soon about the CDC, but was there anything at our more local meeting that kind of tried to boil it down for people to get why this might be happening?
Yeah, so all signs point to this being a direct result of the Delta variant really proliferating in Humboldt County. I think the word was that it was about 20% of responsible for about 20% of cases in June. We haven't gotten an updated number, but every indication is that that has increased very substantially. And the Delta variant has, the data shows at this point that it's basically twice as contagious as the initial strain of the virus, and that it also is believed to result in more significant illness. And so I think one thing that we're seeing is the Delta variant is just tearing through the unvaccinated population locally. And whereas the traditional virus was kind of believed on average to result, every person who was infected might infect 2 more. I think that I've seen data to indicate that that's 5 or 6 more for the Delta variant. So it's really increasing those lines of transmission, which has, a compounding effect. And then the other thing that I think I dive into in the article in this week's paper with the CDC study is that there's really a growing body of evidence that the Delta variant is infecting fully vaccinated individuals. And those infections are not resulting in severe illness and death by and large, but they are, fully vaccinated individuals are getting sick, are getting symptomatic illness with this, and are every bit as contagious as non-vaccinated individuals who are infected with the Delta variant. So even though 55% of the population is now vaccinated, that doesn't mean they are either immune from illness or immune from contracting and spreading the Delta variant, which is an alarming shift in the way this pandemic is going.
Yeah, alarming indeed. How about you tell us a little bit about that CDC study and the article? Barnstable, Massachusetts, I think, is where they focused this data set from.
Yeah, so it was a really alarming outbreak to public health officials in Barnstable County in Massachusetts, and for a number of reasons. One is this was a county that really seemed to have COVID-19 under control. They had vaccination rates of, I think, upward of 80%. And in the 2-week period before this outbreak started, they had an average of 0 cases per 100,000 residents over a 2-week period per day. So really just we're seeing minimal infection, had really high vaccination rates. And then 4th of July weekend leading into that week, they had a kind of tourists come to town, and they had a series of large scale events. And they saw this case cluster that just really steadily grew until it infected almost 500 people. And when health officials kind of dove into the data, they found that 75% of infected individuals were fully vaccinated. And while they were less likely to suffer severe illness and hospitalization, the genomic sequencing similar viral load to people who were unvaccinated. And so really throughout the course of the vaccine rollout, the belief has been and the hope has been that the vaccine protects, very well against not just severe illness, but also infection, and that you might be exposed to the virus, but you're less likely to pick it up. And even if you do pick it up, you're less likely to shed as much virus as an unvaccinated person would, and less likely to be as contagious as an unvaccinated person would. And this, while very limited, this one study from the CDC of Barnstable County really seems to just pop that balloon and say that, with Delta, fully vaccinated people are personally more protected, but they're not really protected from contracting and spreading COVID the same as an unvaccinated person would.
So the simplified version is that folks are even when they're vaccinated, could still have asymptomatic cases and could still have the comparable viral load. And with this Delta variant, it could be considered much more or significantly more spreadable. Mm-hmm. And so that's why it's getting around. And mm-hmm. then something is 95% effective, there's still 1 in 20 people that could be impacted in a way that is suboptimal at best. So I think that's the simplest version. Did I get that right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that the takeaway from both, I think today's announcement from the health officer and the CDC study and the story in this week's journal is that, getting vaccinated is a crucial personal protection. It's really important to protect you from severe illness and death. And it does, make you a little bit less likely to transmit the virus to somebody else. But it's imperative that even vaccinated people at this point follow those health guidelines, mask up, avoid mixing with, other households. And this is really unfortunately, a regression to some of the gathering guidelines and stuff that were in place prior to the vaccines.
Yeah, one of the elements that I saw presented over the weekend by I think Dr. Fauci and some others was that they are seeing youth, under 12 people in some of the data. Did your study, any of your research at all, show you enlighten you a little bit about how it's affecting younger people?
The CDC study did not really address that. I would say in Humboldt County, we have our largest demographic of caseloads is 10 to I believe 10 to 19 or 10 to 29. I'm sorry. And so the idea that young people, kids, do not get the virus is a myth, absolutely. And with Delta, we are seeing, starting to see more significant illness in younger demographics. We have to note that, just yesterday we confirmed, Humboldt County confirmed a COVID death of somebody in their 30s. So I think the one thing that the Delta variant and this virus, I think in general, is doing is systematically kind of chipping away at the protections that people, felt they had of, oh, I'm young, I'm healthy, I'm vaccinated, these different things that made people feel immune from kind of bearing the brunt of this virus. And I think we're starting to see that that's not the case.
It's also important to note that it means that any protection that an unvaccinated person might have felt by being in a community or being surrounded by a bubble of people who are vaccinated, that protection is also being chipped away at. And whether you are a person who has chosen not to be vaccinated or you are a person who can't be vaccinated for various reasons, the cushion of having vaccinated people around you is not quite what it was.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What I was going to say before is I saw coverage of a book called Nudge, which is about how you kind of need to nudge people in the direction of what is, the best possible outcome when it's not something they sort of have internalized on their own. And I think they used the example of smoking, how over the years, it became marginal changes in the status quo to try to guide people's behavior. And they said that we're already starting to see the nudges on this, on addressing COVID because of Delta variant. So, for example, like some large employers are already requiring vaccination or frequent testing. Some places like hospital frontline workers or state workers in various places like California or New York City, there's requirements there. Was there some element of Dr. Hoffman's presentation that was nudging people towards,
Well, I think he has been very systematic in continuing to nudge people toward vaccination. But I think, an encouraging sign from today, or encouraging glimmer from today's press conference, is that Public Health Director Sophia Pereira said that since kind of the rise in the Delta variant and since it's captured so much publicity over the last couple of weeks, we are seeing a marked increase in people coming forward to get vaccinated in Humboldt County, and they have seen kind of a surge in interest. Which is a good thing. There may be a tiny silver lining development there.
Totally. I'm glad the nudges are beginning to get some traction. Thanks, Dad. Thank you for covering this and keeping us informed. I'm sure we'll be checking back regularly.
I think so. Thanks.
How about you, Jennifer? Let's pivot over to the arts and features beat. I know that the cover story that I just guided on, but it's Best of Humboldt. It's something to be celebrated. What do you guys got?
Yeah, every year we do this. And you know what? I remember when I was young, the Best of Humboldt, when I first came on board in 2013, the Best of Humboldt was what do we have? 50 categories or something like that. And now we have something like 2,500. It's a huge, huge list of best everything. There's a best of food and drink, a best of goods and services, and retail, and there's a wedding section. There's all this stuff. My personal favorite is there's a cannabis section. There's now a COVID-19 section, which is about, for example, things that were businesses that have adapted to COVID. And speaking of cannabis, both the best curbside and best delivery categories, they went to Humboldt's Premium and Proper Wellness Dispensary, respectively, So apparently when it comes to delivery and curbside, Humboldt was like, we need some weed though. So, and then, we have all of these like sort of random categories and things that kind of, to me, the best parts are the parts that show us the quirkiness of Humboldt. Like, for example, best place to worship is, I think, a redwood grove one. We have, I had to take this one. The staff also, so as the editorial staff, we don't really come up with the list of best of categories. That's something that the marketing department does. So they come up with this massive list and they launch this voting campaign and nomination and voting campaigns and this whole thing. And they,
so first readers nominate their favorite things under a category, and then I think we take the top three, and then readers vote on those top three in every given category to name the best of. But
right,
we have very little hand in it.
And we have very little, we often disagree. It was a couple of years ago that Annie's Cambodian won the best Chinese. Literally in the name. But it's good food. It's just not Chinese. So we kind of get this mass of winners, and then we pick through and see what's interesting to us, and we write little blurbs here and there. And I had to grab the best place to break up with someone in Humboldt County because it is the Hatchet House, Arcata Hatchet House, where you go and throw a woodsman's axe at a plywood target, which, I don't know, it might also be a great first date place. But that's the most Humboldt thing ever, right? Let's go do some lumberjack skills and I'll tell you why it's you and not me. I was a little bit concerned for Humboldt that the best place to meet singles is the Humboldt County Jail.
Oh.
But apparently we don't mind a little baggage. Good for you. Good for you, Humboldt, for being down for a fixer-upper. Also, we had another one that I had to grab because I'm greedy. The best place to get gifts for your wedding party, not your bachelorette party and not your bridal shower, but your wedding party, which to those who haven't done wedding stuff before, that's your best man, your maid of honor. Does that include the groom's mom and the bride's mom and dad? And
hopefully.
Does that include them?
I don't think generally.
No?
Maybe
okay.
we're just rude. I don't know.
It's just the people who are standing up with you at your wedding. The best place to buy gifts for them, which traditionally I think people get what do you get? Like a flask, you get a frame, you get a tchotchke.
Cufflinks maybe.
Cufflinks, is good relations. So, which by the way, I asked and they were doing gangbusters during the pandemic. They also won best hobby shop. So Humboldt loves its hobbies. And I always think about the places where they're selling balsa wood planes, just going, yeah, we can't compete in that category. No amount of airplane glue can achieve. But we have a bunch of great categories. And of course, Tali Koziris, our calendar editor, is a big animal lover. So of course she wants to, every year she picks all the animal categories to win, all the winners to write about. I believe Iridian Casares wrote about Tendery Bites winning the best buffet, even though now they can't have a buffet because we can't have nice things amid COVID. But they are doing a new thing where you can get the thali with a tray of mixed items, sort of like somebody putting together a buffet for you, which I enjoy and appreciate because I get menu vertigo. And yeah, there's just a bunch of stuff that's in there that's quirky and fun and kind of very Humboldt.
So I have a question for you. You said the editors get to pick categories and kind of write up a little bit about it. Not to put you on the spot, Thad, but what was the one that you wrote about, or one of the ones you wrote about?
I wrote one of the ones I wrote about is the best milkshake in Humboldt County because it's true to my heart. I'm actually not a big milkshake guy, as I say in the write-up, but Tony's 24-hour restaurant in Arcata has mastered the peanut butter chocolate milkshake. I am a devout fan of all things peanut butter and chocolate together, and they use real peanut butter in their milkshake, and it is divine. It is so good.
I think that's the key, right? It's not peanut butter chocolate ice cream. It's chocolate ice cream and peanut butter.
That is 100%. It's the authenticity, Jen.
Yeah,
Thad writes a beautiful passage about the joy of hitting a streak, like, when you're mining and you find a vein of gold, but it's a vein of peanut butter that you can, with a little effort, get through your straw.
So I don't know how fair it is, Jennifer, to ask you to go through any more, because you might be singling out some over others. But is there what's the gold vein that you saw in there?
Yeah. I was happy to see sentimental favorite and legit burrito favorite Esteban's win for best burrito. I
believe this is the first year Esteban's has won too.
It is. La Chiquita may have won something for truck in the past. I feel like that's possible. But yeah, it was the first win. I consider that a posthumous win for Esteban. We lost him, and he passed away. Was it this past year? After
early 2021, I think.
Yeah. So after a bout of COVID, and so, certainly a COVID related illness, even though COVID was no longer in his body at the time of his death. It's been interesting to see some categories change. Some places will always win. Hole in the wall is just always going to get the sandwich category, or will it? Who will take up that challenge?
There was some long-standing best ofs that got upset this year.
Yeah, there were a few.
Yeah. A dark horse came through in best law firm, which is, shocking.
Well, I am happy to see that we have. I didn't see Kebab Cafe coming up with best takeout, but there it is. And, they make a solid souvlaki, so I can't fight with them. But it's nice to, appreciate these things. And as we put in our introduction, it's important, especially now that we're doing this mask order, we're postponing and canceling events, we're having to again pull back from the public life that we've enjoyed for a hot minute. But it's nice to remember why we have to do all this, right? What we're protecting and the people that we care about that run all these places. One of the reasons that Happy Donuts wins Best Donuts is because Natalie's amazing. And because, I'm sorry, I have bad news for you. You are not the only person whose donut she remembers. She remembers everybody's donut. It broke my heart to find out I was not special, but there you go. And the same thing, the reason we love, going to the shanty is the bartenders. The reason you go to your favorite, place to have your car worked on or whatever is because of the people that are there. And that's what we have to look out for.
Right on. Well, this is really cool. I'm going to check it out so I could look up all these people, see who won again, or some of my favorites. Shout out. I don't know if he knows or if these people know they won yet. A shout out to Chef Josh Wiley at 5'11" because he's my boy and I think he's awesome. Definitely, I'm psyched for him. Hopefully he finds out besides hearing about it from me. People are going to go online and check it out. Also, North Coast Journal is on newsstands now. Please do, figure it out. Stay informed, have fun, stay safe. Until next time, and Jennifer, Thad, thank you so much, and we'll see you guys again next week.
All right, wear your mask.
Yep, mask up, stay safe.